Hi everyone. I think oh, let me get my camera out because it looks weird over here. Okay. Oh, nice. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Monday Morning Messages with Candace Smith. I hope everyone had a good weekend, or actually a good week, since this is just once a week. Today, well, as I could just talk, this hopefully is just like hot water. So not whatever the coffee was that I previously had last week that created my coughing fit. So thank you for everyone who responded and commented and sent me nice notes and suggestions on, different herbal teas and hot water and, various things for having a cough. So thank you for that. Let's see. I don't think what happened this week. I had a few appointments at Second Level Salon, which is my upstairs bathroom because I cut my husband and my son's hair. So it's like legit. Like you make an appointment, it's Monday at 2 or I don't know, Thursday at 4, whatever the availability looks like. And I'm not sure why, but my husband actually has this like kit where it's like the professional kit. It's got the scissors and the cape and the combs and like the spacers and everything that you would need. So after watching a significant amount of YouTube videos and just a hint of like not being a perfectionist, I was able to start cutting my son and my husband's hair once a month. I think the best part is that I really treat it like it's a salon. So I come in, got the cape, with like the little clip and, how's it going? How's your wife doing? How's the family? How's this, I don't make them wear a mask though. So that's interesting. But maybe we did like a temperature check or something. So, it's the same conversation that you have when you go to get your hair cut, except for that it's like 1/10 of the time that the conversation a girl has to have when she goes to get her hair done, because it's an hour of some serious small talk, or 2 or 3, depending on what kind of appointment you have, coloring, highlights, etc. So I was talking to my son, and like he's let's see, 9.5. So I was like, oh, what do you want for Christmas? And what do you think Santa's gonna bring you? And he was like, well, Santa could bring me this, but there are also other options. So I was like, okay, here we go. And I was like, didn't really feel like asking him what he thought those other options were. But I knew enough to know that there was this kid in the neighborhood that I felt like was maybe behind this. So I did take it upon myself to find myself, you know, um, sort of around him when there was no one else around, and kind of ask him what was the deal, what was going on, because he's older. So I really wanted to know, where this other thought might be coming from. So he's 10 and a half. So he just seemed to know, like, oh, this is, you just get to be that age. And I was like, what age is that? And he said, my age. And I was like, okay, 10 and a half. When was this something that, kind of occurred to you? And he was like, recently. And I was like, okay. So I had to sort of, give him the look like, don't spread this or talk to my kids about anything. This is, kind of like that understanding. He was like, okay, Miss C, which he doesn't call me, but I've always wanted kids to call me like Mrs. C. It just ends up being, so-and-so's mom. It's like you have no identity. Um, so that was interesting to kind of come across that. But yeah, so if anybody wants to make any appointments, Second Level Salon will be here. We have a few openings coming up in the next few weeks. Um, for the messages today, this is something I'm pretty passionate about, and it is expectation versus reality. So it was, it feels like kind of what we wake up and think about the day is that, you know, 100% of things will go the way that we think we want them to go. So you wake up, you expect your feet to hit the floor. You brush your teeth. You have coffee downstairs. I don't really know if this is true for everyone that have coffee downstairs, but whatever that routine looks like, if you're working from home or if you're getting in your car and you just sort of move along, expecting things to be a certain way. When in reality, I kind of feel like it's flip flop. Like it's really 5% of things do go the way that we anticipate them to go, and 95% of things are out of our control and surprises or unexpected. So, what really makes kind of who we are and how we talk to ourselves and how we talk to other people, I think, is the reaction that we have when things are unexpected. Um, One story that comes to mind is when I went like to Etsy and ordered this artwork, and it was supposed to go like over the bed. I've never had artwork over my bed, and this was, I don't know, not recently, but felt like, I reached a point where I can really treat myself. So I go on Etsy, and this lady, I think it's Debbie, she's in Washington. So it looks great, kind of this abstract whatever. And I picture this like huge piece of like hand painted artwork that's going to be a robot. And the price was like amazing. I was like, wow, can you believe that this piece of art is going to be created for this low, low price? And I get the artwork, and I pictured it like 3 times as big and hand painted. And it turns out to be like, again, not that big. Um, and it was a print on a canvas. So I was like, okay, I guess, the first thing that you say is this is unexpected, which is kind of a good sort of starter thing for when you are taken aback by something that is different than you thought it was. And you're like, this is unexpected. And it sometimes can prevent, swearing or yelling. So I kind of that's my go to until my brain can figure out how to process the rest of it. So, um, I get this and I was like, okay. And I'd really been talking it up to my husband, like, this is amazing. You're not going to believe this. What a deal, you know. And it turns out, like, this is exactly why it costed what it did. Like, it was still cute, but again, just not what I expected. So it was not going to be nearly like big enough to go over a bed, and then it was not hand painted. So even though it was still cute. So I was like, well, I guess Debbie needed the money. And for me, it felt like that was probably more of a true statement than just focusing on myself and saying, this is the worst thing. I'm going to reach out to this person, because chances are the information, and I'm sure I say chances, but it's 100%, that all of the information was in the description. I ordered what I ordered. It was, definitely a user error. So I could have sort of gone the other way and like, this is ridiculous and I'm so upset and this is going to be the best thing ever and it was going to change my life. But the truth is, I just said maybe Debbie needed the money. And for me, it kind of gives me that perspective that, you know, there is someone, or people on the other end of your experiences. And so for her, it could be one of those stories that you hear in like Chicken Soup for the Soul, or is it Chicken Noodle Soup? Just Chicken Soup. I don't, okay. Um, so it's like, what if she was like praying for this money to kind of come to her, and she had this bill due, and she's like, what am I going to do? And I said this prayer, or I just asked for it, and all of a sudden someone ordered a piece of my artwork. So, to kind of picture it that way, that someone else is sort of telling a different story about sort of the same interaction or what's happening, it's interesting to think that you could be potentially really upset and really mad about something that is the other thing that someone else has been praying for and asking for. So, what might feel better is just saying, oh, okay, well, this is how it is. I had this artwork. It wasn't what I thought it would be. Maybe I've helped someone else. And it ended up going in a different place, and it was super great, and I just moved on. And one of the things that we can also think about is how we're spending our time. So when you are taking time to complain, and I understand there's like this window of like venting and like, okay, that was sort of ridiculous, and now I'd like to move on. But when you're taking time to stretch it out and to maybe use that as sort of um, sort of an excuse to sort of get something out, that maybe something else is really bothering you, then you're taking time away from something else. So if I had spent hours or called my friends and complained to my husband and my mom and whoever else, like, can you believe this? Um, then you don't have time to do the things that you tell people you've always wanted to do. So it's like, oh, I wish I didn't have time to call, or I can't make it over right now, or um, love to start working on that screenplay. So those scenarios add up, and when we fill up our mental capacity with sort of these argumentative and upset and angry statements, then we don't leave room for the new ideas, the compassion, and um, the thoughts that come in that are actually helping us and moving us forward. So when those circumstances happen, you have the expectation of this was going to be amazing, and then when you get it, the reality is it's not. But the truth is, it is amazing for exactly what it's supposed to be for you in your life, and I guess that's what you're meant to experience. So you still have the ability to look at it that way. And truthfully, we have things happen to us that are unexpected that we actually like. Someone surprises you with a cake, or you get a check in the mail, or you run into someone that you're excited to see. Um, some refund from something, or some like you've been part of this lawsuit and you get like that $1.50. They've settled it. So how is it that we're differentiating good expectations um, from like bad expectations, and like a flat tire or something that happens to you that you know you're still put in a different position to make different choices and um, to try and change things, but in one scenario you're happy about it, and then the other scenario you're not. um, I used to have a friend that I still do, but this was an older story. Um, but they wanted to plan a like surprise trip for his girlfriend, and it was like, I'm gonna surprise her with this like all inclusive, and we're flying, and I got a pack for her, and um, you know this is gonna be amazing. And it was funny because I had heard some of the previous experiences leading up to this, and just thought to say, okay, this is awesome, greatest thing ever. What if this person complains about like what you pack? What if the flight is delayed? Will they complain? What if like this all-inclusive magic place that you're going is, something is, the expectation is different than what you think, and the expectation is different from what this person thinks. How will you react? And they were like, I'll be fine because I just want to do this because I'm excited regardless of the outcome. So I think that in and of itself is a very important thing to remember, because if you go out of your way to do something for someone, and of course everyone has seen this, like you do something really nice, or you hold the door, or you Get a gift and you don't hear something back. The expectation is that someone is like, "You're the best thing ever. How are you so thoughtful?" Or like the person you hold the door for, it's like, "Wow, this is great." And when you don't get that, it just causes this like tight, tense stress. Um, because you anticipate that someone is just like you. And that's where I think we get caught up in thinking that people are like us. And it's funny because, like, you think they're like you, but only the good things that you like about you. So it's like, oh, I would have said thank you, or I would have, um, like written a note, or certainly been like very thoughtful. But the parts about you that maybe that you're like super busy and you're forgetful, and you could easily be that other person that you didn't live up to someone else's expectations. You may find yourself like, well, no, I would not want someone else to be like me in that regard. And we have our own excuses for okay, we'll call them reasons, um, to be the way that we want to be. You cut someone off because you're stressed out, or you have a screaming baby in the back seat, or an animal, or somebody's sick, or you just maybe driving the way you actually drive, which, okay, that's the thing, or the circumstances are such that you are behaving in a way you wouldn't normally behave. So we all have that thing in our head like, ooh, sorry, thanks, I got this thing going on. And we kind of expect the other person to sort of get, like, well, I would normally do this, but, sorry, here's why I said and did those things. So, um, you know, the idea is that we can allow other people to not have to live up to our expectations because they have just as many reasons as we do why they may not behave in the same way that they normally would. And, sometimes it's just the universe putting people in your place to create the thoughts in you that allow you to sort of come outside of yourself and be thoughtful about what that whole process looks like. What does it look like if I'm not upset? You're at the stoplight and the car does not go. Um, you know, so it's more likely that things wouldn't go the way we expected than the fact that they would. So it just sort of gives us the opportunity to look at life and say, hey, thanks for something different. We can't live in a bubble, and we're not single, people living just like on a desert island or whatever. We have, friends and family and parents and pets and people and relationships, and with all of the things that the infinite possibilities of things that can happen. I mean, it's like guaranteed that things will not go your way. And sometimes it's a good thing. Like you meet someone, like, wow, that was so unexpected. Or, someone calls you and like, you're not going to believe this. You're like, wow, that was unexpected. So these are all the good things about things being unexpected. So, there is a way for us just to say, like, this is something that's happening because it's the way it's supposed to be. And I guess this is what I'm supposed to be experiencing. Um, it just feels better to be able to say that and move on. That this is part of my experience. This is who I am. This is what I can share with others in a good way in regards to, like, uh, what I've learned, um, what I can feel compassionate about others for because I've been in that scenario. And, my son remembered a story, which I didn't. It was funny. But you know how when you used to leave the house and you'd be like, oh, I forgot something, keys, or, okay, you couldn't get far. But let's say like wallet. And you're like, oh man, I got to get back. And I would always say, like, well, what if us going back prevents us from getting into an accident? Like, you just kind of be thankful and let those experiences sort of unfold. And it really happened. Like, I forgot my wallet, and I was like, well, I guess this is where we're supposed to be. And we went back to like the street. It was, like two right turns. And then we saw an accident that had just happened. Like, we would have 99% been in it. And he was just like, wow. He said, we would have been in that. And I said, potentially, you never know how things work out. But to him, and this was years ago. And he just reminded me like the other day, and I'd completely forgot about it. And, it was just fascinating because for me, such a good lesson to say, what's the point in anger and arguing with what life has put in front of you when it's exactly where you're supposed to be? And you just can't picture that domino effect that is unfolding for like your betterment while it looks like chaos. So, um, and that's another good thing, I think, just to, I think I read it in a book. Um, and it was setting expectations for kids from the earliest age, baby, and then the rest of their life. So, you know, it's something that I started with them, and it's really helped because like we would go to the store and like, hey, we're gonna go get a toy, let's just say, and I'm like, the store may be closed. We may not get there. Maybe I have to get a call and go somewhere. They may not have the toy. It may be too expensive. Like all of these reasons why it was not going to happen, because in life that's really what happens. And so I'm like, if we get there and things are not as you think they're going to be, what are we going to do? And kind of playing out that scenario for them in advance and saying, what are you going to do? And it's like, you know what? We'll go a different time. We'll find something different. We don't need it at all. And giving them those choices about, here's maybe what will help you feel better if this doesn't go the way you think it will. And the bottom line is what I tell my son pretty much every day, and my daughter, is things are the way they are because that's the way they are. So if something falls down, there's something better. If you're not in a relationship, there's something better. I mean, those are things that we hear very often. And the truth is that why didn't this go the way I wanted to? Well, because it didn't. I think sometimes we get caught up on trying to understand the answer behind everything. Why did that happen? And what if it's some crazy answer like, you know, 7, and it's like, okay, well, now I have the why, but how does that really move you forward in life? What does knowing why something happened allow you to do, um, other than just give you that additional attachment to it? Can we let ourselves go enough to say it happened because it happened, and then you move on? Because there's so many pieces for us to understand why one single thing happened would only put us in a position to then ask another question about why the next thing happened. I mean, that would truly be just, to infinity, because we always want to know more. We always want to know why. That's just what our brains do. And if you have the opportunity to be able to let go of the why and say, this is, you know, for my best purpose, and not in a way that you like give up and like whatever, but you just understand that the reason behind those things are just so that you can be your best self. Um, and it's a good lesson. So, if you, or even, I don't know, I'll say friends or kids or whatever, but setting the expectation that like, yeah, we're going here to do this, but it may not happen. And what are we going to do? Even if I like turn on the TV, I'm like, sometimes my husband would kill me because he wants like a bigger and faster TV, but it's not, in the cards. So it's like sometimes it's going to buffer. Sometimes I can't find the thing that you want. What are we going to do? And I've already built into our experience that it's just like, well, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. And it's just a much easier experience when you can have like someone in your life, your kids or whoever, that you just kind of, they can shrug their shoulders and go, it didn't happen because it didn't happen. What do you want to do next? And it's creating more of those experiences where they are unexpected, but they can be good. Um, I have so many stories around this. And I know that you're not interested in all of them, and maybe not even the ones I've shared so far. But if you start looking around, it really is fascinating that more things are unexpected than not. And so when everything that happens that's unexpected frustrates you or causes you to be quick to anger, then it's going to be a stressful day and your time is going to be completely gone away from you. Um, and it was so funny because I went to see my mom. Like she's in my bubble. Um, and I was laughing because I was thinking about this bubble, and it was almost like in high school, like when you're dating someone or um, older, I mean, whatever, and you're like, it's just us, right? And they're just like, yep, and then you see them at rushes with someone else. And um, that was the place in high school that everyone kind of went. And you'd certainly take your date there because it was a pretty slamming cheeseburger basket that they had. And, you're like, it's broken our bubble. So it makes me laugh because now people do kind of have their bubbles of people they trust and like it's just us, right? It's like pinky swear, and then you see them with someone else, or maybe like they're on Facebook or something like, you're like, oh my god, now I can't see this person. Hope I remember my story now. Um, oh yes, I was on the way to my mom's house. She's in the bubble, and I try to do these visualizations every now and again, or when I have some time to like, what kind of world do I want to live in? What's this utopic place that you know I want to be part of and build, kind of mentally. And so I was picturing this um, like community and people sharing and like someone's gardening and they bring over carrots and someone else has something probably way more exciting than carrots, but in my mind, that's just how it started out. So I was like, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. People just sort of, doing what they do and sharing and all this stuff. And so I was going to my mom's and I also pictured like she's definitely taking my daughter and I'm probably going to be kicking back. She'll be grandma and read some books and take her off my hands for a short time. And when we got there, my expectation was not met. She was in the yard and kind of handed me this big old coat, more old than big, but also very big. So that's how old it was. Um, and these ratty gloves, and I was not dressed nice, but I was like not in gardening gear, like at all. And so I was like, oh, okay. Not only did I not get the like grandma take my kid for a few minutes at best. I got the like time to work. And it was cold and I didn't have a jacket and that's why I got the old ratty one. And then my daughter didn't have a jacket, so she had um like wrapped in a blanket on a stool on the porch watching us garden. It was so I was like, well, this is unexpected because was it ever? And I took a step back, and the first thing I do in those situations is I kind of go straight to like my gratitude. I have hands that I can garden with, and I don't know. I don't know why I say this, but like I had seen a stop by like my dad's sort of headstone, before I went to see her, just to say hey. And so it was like, I have a living parent, and um, I'm doing something to help. She loves it. My dad's not here. It's certainly something that he would want me to do. And probably, I felt like he was laughing at me for a lot of it because the way that she kind of instructs you to do things and then wants to do stuff and has this vision. I think it's only 5 minutes and we're out there for an hour. And I swear, the sun goes down at like 4:30 every day. But there, at that house, it was up until 8, I feel like. 'Cause she's like, oh, well, when the sun goes down, head side. And I kept looking up and it was like getting brighter somehow. Um, but I go to my gratitude, so I'm like, kind of talking over the thoughts that I really want to have. And like, I'm grateful and I'm kind of messing around with this dirt and whatever it is. And I was, had the ability to really connect with my mom and have conversation. We were outside. My daughter's sort of learning new things and Also being a part of it. So it wasn't worth anything more for me to feel a different way than like, guess I'm supposed to be gardening today. Um, and I'll tell myself something crazy like, oh, well, if we were in the house, a tree probably would have fallen, and thank goodness we're not doing that. And even if it just makes me laugh to kind of break that pattern of being frustrated, it still helps. And then I'm not like still mad later and then coming home to my husband and saying, oh my God, you will not believe this, except for the funny part that we just described. But it doesn't last any longer than like, that was really unexpected. And then it turned out great and I loved it. So being able to change those experiences for like, I guess this is where I'm supposed to be. Even if you're like looking for a certain pair of shoes, let's say you actually, I don't know, going somewhere, and I'll literally do this. Like I'm looking for, and I'm like, well, if I'm not, I guess I'm not supposed to wear those shoes today. Like that's just not for me. So instead of like the anger, like why this is the worst thing to happen, whatever it is, you can't find something, you miss an appointment, you're late. It's like just taking that breath and like accepting, like, okay, this is what today is, and it's unexpected, and it's okay because along with the things that I don't like will come the things that I do like. It would be very boring if we were in a bubble. If every day was the same, it would be awful. Um, and you'd know exactly what to expect, but it wouldn't make any sense. So trying to sort of, think about how, reality is better than the expectations that we have in life, and that we can set expectations with other people, and even with ourselves, that when we don't live up to our own expectations, that we were supposed to get more sleep or be a better parent or eat a certain way or call or whatever it is, when you don't do those things you thought you would do, it's still okay. Like you weren't supposed to do them, because if you were supposed to do them, then you would have done them. And sometimes that's the funny part for me, because it's like, oh man, I wish I would have done this or known more. And it's like, well, if you believe in any sort of like universe, source, God, spirit, higher power, whatever it is, maybe even if you don't, but it's like, don't you think that they have enough power to like put you in a place where they want you to be, or have information that, they would want you to have? It's like you believe that they can do all these miracles, but it's like, oh, I should have been at Target yesterday for that sale. It's like, maybe not, because you weren't there. And I think that, the universe probably has the ability to like put you wherever they want you to be. And they do. So if you trust in the fact that the ability to put you where you think you're supposed to be is possible, then accepting the fact that just because it's not where you want to be is just the reality of you're not somewhere that you want to be, but you're where you're supposed to be. And when we separate ourselves from those experiences, then we start to live in two different places, where you want to be and where you are. And if you're always coming from a place where you live, where in a place where you want to be something different, then it's maybe not going to be that fun. And sort of being able to say, okay, this is what today is. And I'm learning more about myself and about others. Even when someone does something unexpected that maybe hurts your feelings, you go, okay, well, now I know more about that person. And it doesn't mean that it's good or bad. It just means that you know more about that person. And now you know more about yourself. And so you've learned something. And with that, you start to grow and you start to build experiences that help you define what it is you do and don't want in life. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be come from a place of judgment or saying that things should be a different way. It's okay for you to understand that you won't understand why everything is happening. But when you start to free up some of that time and space in your mind to just cut it and move on, like, I'm great, here's all the things I'm grateful for. Um, you know, I'm ready just to like experience the next thing. New things will start to open up, like new ideas and new relationships and new conversations. Um, it's fascinating how much time we actually can spend on talking about and thinking about how things, should have been, and how upset we are that they didn't go that way. Like when you plan for that vacation or something, and you're supposed to go like parasailing at 7, and you know, I don't know who does that on vacation. Maybe you just expected to, you know, drink in the hotel room at 10, and they don't open till 11, whatever it is. When the expectation isn't met, then that means there's a new experience for you, then there's something to learn. So you're just like, okay, what am I about to learn next? I've just learned hotel hours. Can't get in there and drink in the room until 11, whatever it is. Or parasailing is only on Fridays. And so you're like, okay, well, now this is on Fridays. It's like, what's next? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's the phrase I taught my son. And something doesn't go right, you just say, what's next? What else? Um, and I think a lot of fun things will come from it if you can have that attitude of like, that's different. Okay, what's next? Because it will unfold in a lot of new ways for you, I think, than you anticipate. And it really just will free up so much more time for you to experience so much more without all of those thoughts and anger sort of clouding what that is. Okay, well, wow. That was a lot, and I didn't think I had much to say. But I knew I had those stories and many more if you'd like to, I don't know, set aside some extra time in front of a fireplace for me to tell all the rest of my stories. But you'll see how many will come up for you in a day of things that are not expected, and from other people, right? Or from the expectations that people have from you, like, oh, you should have been here. It's like, but I wasn't. And then they're like, why? And you're like, I guess I wasn't supposed to be there. Um, again, you can still be polite and respectful and optimistic and all of the good things that come along with it. But you know, when you set those expectations on yourself and you feel bad, or someone else has the expectation of you, if you know that you've done your best and you have a good attitude, it's like, you know, things are always changing and they're supposed to change, and that's a good thing. Um, thank goodness we can change. That's kind of the exciting part. You're not locked into being a certain type of person or living a certain place and, having a certain relationship. Things are meant to break us out of our comfort zones and allow us to make new choices and have new thoughts and conversations. So that's really what I wanted to say today. That's my message. What was I gonna, oh yeah, I'm gonna try to play us out with some music today because I thought that would be awesome. And I hope you have a great week. And maybe this gave you some, let's see, Muller here just now. Maybe it gave you some insight, way to be thoughtful and kind. And but have a great week. Don't just work this week. Like, work your week. Make it work for you. We'll be back in 7 days and talk about something I'm sure just as exciting as this topic was. And, of course, if you need anything, message me. I'm always here for you. And just know that, you're amazing. You can do anything you want to do. And I think with gratitude and a good attitude, even when things aren't going your way, that you can still look around and see maybe what there's something to do for someone else. And maybe that will sort of, allow some healing to occur within yourself when you're reaching out, maybe to heal someone else. So, and tell someone you love them today. Maybe that will be something unexpected for them. That would be good. So, just be nice to yourself. Things always work out. Um, and then we'll connect, I guess, again next week. So thanks everyone for being here. And let's see if I can get